Dear Professor Dr. Adi Marwan, dear Thyra Knauer, dear Jan Sauerwald, dear SNYDER and dear DARBOTZ, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, Selamat Malam to Indonesia and good afternoon to everybody watching us from Europe. Welcome again to the Sarasehan event series of the Indonesian Embassy in Berlin, this time again as a cooperation with the Senate Chancellery of Berlin. Today we are looking forward to a talk between the two urban artists, SNYDER from Berlin and DARBOTZ from Jakarta, held by Jan Sauerwald, director of the Urban Nation Museum in Berlin. Before we start, I would like to inform you that your microphones will stay muted during the talk and you will not be visible. If you have any questions to one of our guests, please post it in our chat. Your question will be answered then. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start with our artist talk, I would kindly ask Professor Dr. Adi Marwan, Education and Cultural Attaché of the Indonesian Embassy in Berlin, to say some words of welcome. Silahkan, Bapak.
Terima kasih, Bu Birgit. Jelas ya suara saya?
Ya, jelas.
Okay. Dear Mrs. Thyra Knauer, dear artists, SNYDER from Berlin, DARBOTZ from Jakarta, dear Jan Sauerwald, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our 119th Sarasehan event. As most of our audience today is new to our program Sarasehan, please let me just shortly inform you about this event series initiated by the Indonesian Embassy in Berlin. The Indonesian word Sarasehan describes a meeting of people who like to talk about a certain topic in an informal atmosphere. When this monthly event was created in 2008, my predecessor at that time was convinced that this would be the ideal format for a monthly event series in which we talk about certain topics related to Indonesia, seen from the German perspective. The speakers are mostly German scientists, engineers, politicians, and private people who present their projects in Indonesia to us. Outside pandemic times, we always serve Indonesian coffee and snacks and exchange our ideas in a relaxed atmosphere. From time to time, we also introduce Indonesian artists during Sarasehan. It is a nice coincidence that to the day 4 years ago, on the 29th of April 2018, the Indonesian artist Eko Nugroho was our guest on the occasion of an exhibition of his works at the Armed Art Agency in Berlin. I'm not an expert, in art, but as far as I know, DARBOTZ and Eko Nugroho have at least one thing in common. They both may be called artists who have their roots in the urban landscape. In exhibitions about Indonesian street art, their works are often shown side by side. Ladies and gentlemen, this is also one of several Sarasehan events that we have conducted together with the Senate Chancellery of Berlin. Mainly topics related to the city partnership between Berlin and Jakarta are in the focus of this Sarasehan. It is a great honor for us that this cooperation is in existence for quite some time, and we would be pleased if more interesting topics like the one today will be introduced through this partnership in the future. Please let me therefore finally express my deepest gratitude to the Senate Chancellery of Berlin, especially Mrs. Thyra Knauer, for another fruitful cooperation, but also for your firm commitment to the friendship between the cities of Berlin and Jakarta. Thank you also to the two artists, SNYDER and DARBOTZ, and thank you to Jan Sauerwald for taking your time today in order to introduce yourselves and your projects to us. Terima kasih. Back to you, Birgit.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Adi Marwan, Education and Cultural Attaché of the Indonesian Embassy in Berlin. Dear guests, as said before, this Sarasehan is a cooperation with the Senate Chancellery of Berlin, and we are very glad that Thyra Knauer, Policy Officer for Southeast Asia in the International Department of the Senate Chancellery and responsible for the city partnership with Jakarta, will also welcome us. Thyra, the microphone is yours.
Yes, thank you, Birgit. Yeah, thanks a lot to Professor Adi Marwan for your kind words. Welcome to the audience and welcome also to the artists SNYDER and DARBOTZ. To Jan Sauerwald, it's a big honor to have you three today here on the panel, and sure also Birgit and there I start actually to thank you also for the good cooperation that this can take part today. Because this street art panel is our second cooperation with the House of Indonesian Cultures in this Sarasehan series, digital Sarasehan series, and it last time in December worked out quite well, and I'm very curious and excited for today. And yeah, this year Jakarta and Berlin are looking back on 27 years of city partnership. And over the years, our city partnership has seen many exciting projects and activities. And one of these projects was a mural SNYDER and DARBOTZ created to the 25th anniversary of the sister cities in Jakarta in 2019. And this was actually also the beginning of their cooperation. And last year, we tried to make this happen also in Berlin, to have a wall here created by these two artists as a symbol of our sister city partnership, sorry. But due to the pandemic, it was not possible, and there were the travel restrictions. So the artists decided with us together to create a print, and this is also the idea today, to reveal this printing and yeah, show this second part of the cooperation. Living in a big city, street art is part of our daily life, and it's accessible to everybody, and even during the pandemic. So again, it links people, cultures on an international level. But still, street art stays a bit of mystery also to us, and that's why I'm very much excited and yeah, curious to get an insight today and to learn more about the art of SNYDER and DARBOTZ. Thank you.
Thank you, Thyra Knauer from the Senate Chancellery of the City of Berlin. Dear guests, now it is time to get into the topic, and I would like to introduce to you our today's moderator, Jan Sauerwald. Jan has been the director of the Urban Nation Museum in Berlin since 2019. His enthusiasm for street art and urban art is based on his own practice in the 1990s and various urban art projects he organized and curated since 2005. Among others, Jan worked for the DAAD Artists in Berlin program, the KW Institute for Contemporary Art in Berlin, Studio Elm Green and Dragset, and the Temporary Art Hall Berlin. Jan, thank you for being with us today. We are looking forward to an interesting talk with our two artists you are going to introduce to us, and therefore the floor is yours.
Birgit, thank you very much. I'm very honored today to speak in this program with the Berlin-based artist SNYDER and Jakarta-based artist DARBOTZ about their artistic career and about their project that was held 2 years ago in relation to the anniversary of the Berlin and Jakarta partnership. Yeah, thank you very much for everyone as well who's taking part. As mentioned, we will answer possible questions in the end of the event, so please feel free to collect these and write us in the chat, so nothing gets missed. At the moment, you see us three, means SNYDER and DARBOTZ and me, but both artists are hiding their faces or parts of their faces under masks. You might have the question, why is that? It is, on one hand, a typical practice in the street art and graffiti artist work to be invisible, because the name and the artwork is most important and much more important to the artist than his face. And so both artists decided to not make their faces visible. And yeah, let's hear what they have to say, and let's hear what. And let's see what we can find out about their work without a strong focus on their personality and private life. Yeah, thank you so much for taking part. I would like to start this talk with a little bit more precise view on the work of DARBOTZ. In the last years, the Indonesian art scene has, in my opinion, has become much more visible. At the moment, a lot of focus is on what is happening in Indonesia, especially from Germany, because most of us might know it, or most of you might know it. The curators of the next documenter in Kassel in 2020 will be the curator group from Jakarta called Ruang Grupa. So here in Germany, there is a strong focus on what is happening in Indonesia, because Documenta is one of the most well-known and biggest art shows in the world, and especially in Germany for sure. And so it is a great perspective now to hear more about the Indonesian street art scene from DARBOTZ. Maybe it is possible to, while we introduce DARBOTZ to the audience, to see some of his work in terms of images and a little bit of a presentation. Here it comes. Thank you very much, Birgit. DARBOTZ is working as an artist in the streets since 1997. He began in his school time with an artist career, and for everyone who might not be too much into street art and graffiti, a lot of street art is happening, or a lot of street artists and graffiti artists are using a strong tag, means a writing of their name in the streets to represent their art and themselves. I hope I'm right if I describe that DARBOTZ, you were early deciding to work with another kind of representation, which means you were deciding, maybe we can see the next images. You were deciding for a character which is taken from the animal world, which is a squid. And which developed into a very own perspective and life on walls and in the streets. As you can see, the character or the art pieces by DARBOTZ are placed on many urban landscapes, buildings, and locations. These works are covering places in the city or at buildings where there is an interest, or the artist was interested to place these pieces. The work is white and black and without a lot of color in some of the pieces, but in other pieces there is some color implemented. As many other street artists, DARBOTZ is as well working in a field where he is presenting his work on canvas. So it is for sure as well possible for interested collectors to acquire a piece. And in a very specific way, the very rich and ornamentic and let's say strong works, they fill whole buildings or landscapes. There is as well a sculptural work that the artist is working with, and it seems to me that DARBOTZ is one of the most well-known street artists in Indonesia or in Jakarta. So his work is very visible in the streets there. As well, the artist is working with some companies and in designing products of like companies in the field of streetwear, for example. So the icon and character he developed has become such a strong character that even commercial companies are interested in cooperations with DARBOTZ. It is as well important to mention that DARBOTZ was part of the founders of a network in Indonesia called Tembok Bomber. So this is a social platform, a social network that is oriented on street art and focusing on street art. And in 2018, he was part of a community that founded Gardu House, a hub for street art and cultural practice. So as we can see, networking is as well part of his interest, and this is as well, I think, naturally coming from the background of the work as a street artist, because there are a lot of collaborations in this art area. So this is a short introduction about DARBOTZ work. Now I would like to introduce SNYDER, our other artist who is taking part today on the talk. Maybe we can have a look at a few works by SNYDER in the presentation, so everyone is it is possible for everyone to see SNYDER's work as well. So SNYDER, as a Berlin-based street artist, is working as well for a long period already in the field of graffiti and street art. He developed his practice since 25 years, and he is working with 2D and 3D figures. As well, his work is very much focused on the public space and the public realm. So in Berlin, but worldwide, you will find a lot of walls of even big buildings. He was painting his huge art pieces on. Even though we can't visually see the pieces by SNYDER, it is the work by SNYDER's work is based on strong animal characters. They represent the wildness and interact with the city surfaces and buildings they are presented on. These make some strong, these works are causing some strong effects on the people who are watching these, because these animals are rather looking at the audience in an aggressive or wild way. These are not friendly animals who these are animals who are interacting like they are in the wildness. So as well, another effect SNYDER is using is a kind of metal effect. He is presenting his wild animals inside his paintings on houses or big buildings in a kind of chromatic and metal effect that is very special and very hard to, I guess, it's difficult to paint. It's a very special painting technique. Oh, now we are having the possibility to see some of SNYDER's work.
I'm sorry, there was a technical problem. My computer was hanging completely.
Oh. But thank you very much, Birgit. Now we can see the artist's work. That's
okay.
Great. And that's wonderful. I think it's important for the audience. So
yes, of course.
That's absolutely great. Thank you so much. So SNYDER's work is, as visible on these images, very much based on this strong effect that is reminding us on metal surfaces, or is reminding us on oil liquid on a water surface. The artist work is happening a lot on invitation on international festivals or on festivals in Berlin, but as well it is happening and is visible in the city landscape or in special artist like places. Here you can very well see the chromatic or metal effect the artist is representing in his work. It is for sure a very special and unique technique that is not really like used by so many artists in the area of street art or graffiti or urban art. And it is kind of his, like, it is characterizing SNYDER's work. As well, the artist is working with canvases, so like collectors have the possibility to acquire the work, and the work can be shown in exhibitions and galleries. Here you can see some works that were produced for a big festival in Eastern Europe. I think, let me have a look. It was in Tbilisi, on the Tbilisi Mural Fest in 2019, and it is filling a whole side of a big social block building. Here, you can see a work that is, I think, located in Berlin. As far as I did read, it is in a school building. So these are the both artists we are talking with today and presenting their work in this event. And I would like to start with both of you about your project you were doing together. And I would like to first ask DARBOTZ how the project in Jakarta came up, and if you can tell us more about the background of the artist collaboration project.
Hello, can you hear my voice?
Yes. Hello.
So actually the project is a bit funny for me because it's the first time the government approached me to do a project with them. So after all this year, I mean, Pak Danton from Institute Jakarta Art approached me to do a permanent mural on the specific site in Jakarta, and I didn't know, but I didn't know the project is for the government. So it's funny for me because I never done any project with the government before. So that's the first time like they really see me as an artist to do a project with them. So it's like an achievement for me, maybe, I don't know. and they said like this is not, this was not only for you, but this will you will collaborate with an artist from Berlin. So I think it's really a massive project for me. I mean, it's a dream come true, and right now the mural also became like a permanent cool wall that you can see every day. So yeah, I think that's it for me.
Yeah, I think it is especially for artists with a background in the streets. It is not an everyday job to work for the official and the states or the government departments, but street art and urban art is becoming more popular every day worldwide. And so I think it was a good choice for the Jakarta government and the Berlin government to decide for such a beautiful mural project, collaboration project that was in the first hand happening in Jakarta, and will now hopefully, after the pandemic situation has changed, will get into a next step in Berlin. Because this is a collaborative project, SNYDER and DARBOTZ were creating a huge mural in between two traffic stations of the underground network in Jakarta. This project is an artist collaborative project. I would like to ask SNYDER, what is important for you as an artist if you work on such a project, and what do you learn about the other artists you cooperate with, and what you learn about the city you work in?
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. First of all, thank you for having me, and thank you all for your interest. What is important? Yeah, for me, preparation is very important. It helps a lot when you have help with all the things that have to be organized, so you can focus on the work itself. So especially when you collaborate with someone new, you have to establish a steady communication for developing the design for the wall. And you learn about other working methods and how others prepare a design. And it's also always interesting to see other artists at work. So the idea of an exchange is also to learn from each other. And then what did I learn about the city? That was the question, right? I think when you paint on the location, you get in contact with the people who pass by all the time, and you can receive their reaction to your work. In this project, it was very intense because thousands of people pass by the wall every day. You kind of get a feeling for the impact of what you're doing, and that can be very rewarding. You can learn a lot about the city when you talk to its inhabitants.
Because this was a collaboration project, and artist collaboration in the streets, or in if we speak about art in the streets, or art, graffiti art, or a background both of you are coming from, a lot of artists are doing collaborative works or go out together. Is this as well part of your practice, or was this part of your practice, DARBOTZ, when you were starting your career?
Yeah, I mean, collaborating is, I like doing collaboration. I mean, I like doing something like very different technique or very different style between artists. So I think when I saw SNYDER's works, like, whoa, man, it's like, it's amazing, you know. And I try to how we can connect this. That's the challenge that I like when collaborating with other people, I think. So I mean, the workflow is really runs smoothly. We just contact through email. I'm going to do this, he's going to do that, and how we connect this, and I think how we connect it, we do it on the spot, right? I mean, how two style become one together, and I mean, I like that kind of challenge, I think. I mean, it will be boring if we have the same style, but if we have really different style, I really challenge to that. So it's really a nice experience for me.
Actually, I find this as well very inspiring in terms of your artwork, and maybe there is a possibility to look at it while we are speaking for a moment, because it's such a wonderful possibility to see how your really different styles were coming together in this work and in this piece. Because they naturally, you might not think that they are very near to each other, and they aren't, but in this piece you were painting together on the mural in Jakarta in 2018. They do perfectly come together, and it is not visible in the first moment that this is a work of two artists. How is the artist collaboration work like practically happening while you are painting at the site? Do you talk a lot? Do you work very close together, or is the main communication happening beforehand, SNYDER? What would you say?
I would say, even though we had a plan, there are many decisions to make while you're at the actual work. Like how exactly do we merge at the points where our parts touch? How can we improve certain parts by adding the other style here and there? So the design actually changes along the way of process for the better. And for this you talk and you discuss, and yeah, and when you're about to finish, at the end there's this moment when you realize it's almost finished and you can let go and just look at it and enjoy that you created something together. And it's always the same moment that both are finished, because at the end you discuss more when you're about to finish, and you have to agree on what is left to do for both of us, and then those finishing touches are done at the same time.
It is very visible on that picture we are looking at the moment that the people who are passing the connection tunnel where your artwork is located in Jakarta, they are very near to the artwork. So there were a lot of people passing by while you were painting. Did you had to answer a lot of questions, DARBOTZ, when you did that painting? Were a lot of people talking to you? How was the reaction?
I think it's more SNYDER because we love to see like a foreigner. In Jakarta, we love to see a foreigner, especially when they painting. They was like, "Oh, what you doing?" Like they always took photo with him, you know, like posing with him. So I think it's a good experience for SNYDER. Well, for me, it's, you know, I'm Indonesian, so there's just another Indonesian painting. But I think when they see a foreigner do some cool stuff on the wall, I mean they really like it. So I think, yeah.
Yes.
SNYDER did a lot of photos with people passed by, right?
Yes, there were many people taking pictures. We had to have some barrier tape, actually. But still, you get in contact with the people who pass by all the time. So you have to talk about your work, and also you have to explain what you do. And this can kind of reassure that you are on the right path, or it can also make you question it. So yeah, there was this one wonderful moment when a group of kids came by and they sat down on the floor in front of the wall, and they all started to draw in their sketchbooks inspired by what they saw. And in that moment, I felt very content because we had inspired them with our work.
This is a really wonderful moment, and as well a very good, I think, example for what we might call the hip hop or the graffiti culture, because there is a famous saying, "Each one teach one," means, you know, you have to give your knowledge to the next generation and to the next artist generation, to the kids, so they working as a graffiti artist is always as well being part of a school or education system, a homemade. So this is a real life example for this move or real practice of the urban art and graffiti community. What would you say, DARBOTZ? How is the feedback on the mural today? Now it's established since 2 years, and it has become, I guess, a little bit famous in Jakarta, or part of the city life, the normal city life, the day-to-day life. So are you still getting questions, emails? Are you passing it yourself time by time? How is your connection to the artwork today, 2 years after it's painted?
Knowing the social media right now, especially Instagram, I mean, a lot of people's like mention DARBOTZ and SNYDER on that wall. I mean, there's a lot of like almost every day. So I think the wall itself has become like a monument for them. I mean, because it's a tunnel between two stations, between the MRT and the train. So I think, like SNYDER said, a lot of people like passing by like every day, like 1,000 people like every day. So I think I mean it's a very visible spot, and I think it became like one of the monument of street art, or I don't know, I mean monument of mural in Jakarta. I can say that, yeah.
There are many. It's kind of, it functions as a selfie spot. I see pictures on Instagram like almost every day, new pictures of it where people photograph themselves in front of the wall.
Wonderful.
And the city even shortly after we finished the wall, the city decided to install a noble sign next to the mural with our names and the info that was created for the 25th anniversary of the city sistership.
That's very nice. I think it is as well a great symbol for this city partnership and the connection between these two cities. It is it is making this connection very visible and let's say lived. I would look a little bit more closely on your specific artist work, because both the way you work with strong characters or with elements in your work is very like different in my opinion. And I would like to start with DARBOTZ and would like to ask you, like your work is based on a very strong character, and can you tell us more about it? It's like a it's, to me it's looking like a friendly monster, and I would like to ask you how it became the center of your work. How did this happen?
So basically, like when I start tagging my name, tagging my school gang and everything, but I mean, a lot of my friends back in the day, like they doing letter. I mean, the fundamentalist of graffiti is writing your name, right? But at that time, like I think if I'm doing the same thing, it won't be stand out. So that's why I tried to make something like a symbol or like a character that I can. It's the same like graffiti when you write your name, like everywhere people will know that's you. I want to do the same, like when you do the same character, like everywhere people know it's your character without having writing your name on it. So that's the mission that I did like a long time ago. And one time I decided, so yeah, I think that's it. I think I want to do this black and white monster character that I will put it everywhere and like doing the same thing like the whole time. So actually the character itself when you see the story, I mean, when you hear the story, it's actually my alter ego. So the story is when you live in the city, like especially Jakarta, it's a very chaotic city. If you ever been to Jakarta, or any one of you live in Jakarta, you will know. I mean, when you live in a big city, each city have its own problem, right? Like the traffic or the everything. So that whole thing makes you a monster. So even a good guy like me, maybe if you live in that situation, you can become a monster. So that's why I think like myself as an alter ego as a monster, and I think that everyone relate to that. So yeah, so that's why I think my character mostly talk about that, my alter ego, or the alter ego itself, the monster alter ego that everyone have in their inside of them.
Okay, you are showing us with this with your alter ego what is absolutely, yeah. A lot of people maybe don't cage in their monsters as you do as an artist, and they just let them out. So I think it is, yeah, it is a good it is very well describing how this alter ego becomes an animal or a monster that is living his own life in your artist work. What would you describe as your biggest influence as an artist? Is it hip hop culture? Is it this? Is it the way you were working as an artist from the beginning, from school time, in your like group of like kids, classmates?
I think, yeah, one of the first influences is hip hop. Like I listen to hip hop, like old school hip hop, like Wu-Tang Clan, NWA, and everything. But I think it's, I mean, the hip hop culture is, it's not from our culture, right? I mean, it's the culture from the United States, and I think along the way, I mean, I try to have like, I need to have something that really Indonesian. It doesn't have to be like batik or anything, but I want to have like identity of my own culture actually. So that's why I create this pattern, and you know, like the monster, but it doesn't have to be like traditional, because Jakarta is very like, it's a big city and it's very a diverse city, a lot of culture there. So I need to see, I need to have like something that represents Jakarta. So I can say now like the really big influence of my work is the city where I live, Jakarta, with with the problem, with with their own problem. I think that's my influence now.
Yeah, I think as well your character has a very individual, let's say, form. It is very unlikely to what is maybe happening in terms of street art and graffiti here in Europe. So I can absolutely agree and understand that you were you wish and your practice to form an Indonesian or Jakarta born style or form. And I think we know that phenomenon from many artists working in countries, for example, like Brazil or other places, or as well, we know Venice style as a very specific style of a local style of Los Angeles, for example. So that's very interesting to look at. If we look at the city of Jakarta and your work, as it looks to me, most of your work is happening in the streets. How do you find your locations, and what is the specific of the location that is making it a location for your next work?
I just, you know, some of the wall that I did is like the wall that I pass every day. So I just like can I paint this like maybe next week? I just scout the place, and I mean, it's happened. I mean, maybe SNYDER also do the same, but the difference is maybe the law in here is not as strict as maybe your Berlin. I mean, it's pretty much easy to paint on the street in Jakarta, especially in Jakarta. And right now, because I'm getting older, I paint like in the morning or in the evening. I mean, I don't have to paint like at night, So I think it's pretty fun to see the difference between when you paint at night and when you paint like in the morning, because the people like when you paint at night, it's like they will look at you like a criminal, but when you paint in the morning, people like, okay, just another kid's painting, That's the difference in here. I think it's pretty fun to do something in here. I mean,
or they think, oh, there is an artist with a contract.
No. I mean, it's pretty fun because the culture is not that, it's not, what do you call it? It's not as big, It's rarely to see an artist paint on the street. So that's why the response from the public, or when I paint their wall, or when I paint their shutter store or everything, like, oh yeah, this is good. Go continue. I mean, most of the response is like that, so I think it's pretty fun.
Perfect. When you speak about Jakarta and differences to other European or American cities, and we all know, or most of us hopefully, or it is common knowledge in a way that the mother city of graffiti and street art is New York, where it was come up as a phenomenon in the 70s and 80s. But when you look at your hometown, Jakarta, you were founding on one hand the network Tembok Bomber, and you were founding, or what you have been a co-founder of Gardu House in 2018, both platforms for art in the streets or urban art. So it is looking like you need these platforms urgently, and they are filling a void. So these are places that have not been existing beforehand. Can you tell us more about these platforms?
When you talk about Tembok Bomber, is basically me and my friend found that around 2005. Maybe it's the peak of the scene in here, the graffiti scene in here. But along the way, we're busy with everything. But there's one other crew, one of the first biggest graffiti crew in Jakarta. They form a collective called Gardu House, and I think Gardu House right now is become like I think it's the center of graffiti and street art in Jakarta, and also in Indonesia, because they are the first graffiti store. They are the first who always do a really big event for graffiti. They have like a yearly event called Street Dealing, where we have like everything there. Like we paint the wall, we jam together, we paint like a kampung or a rural area, and then we have like a hip hop concert and everything. We have skateboard, we have everything, every culture there. So I think right now Gardu House is the center of the scene of urban in Jakarta.
I mentioned it before with Ruan Grupa. Yeah. We have now a very popular group of curators coming from Jakarta that will be the curators of the next Documenta in Kassel in next year. hopefully it can happen and it will take place next year, depending on the pandemic situation. And as well, they have because it's a collective and a group of people, they have a very different way to look at things. For example, they have the concept they call Lumbuk, which means that, as far as I know, Lumbuk is a term from Indonesia that is like representing a house where people store their rice, but they store it collectively, so everyone can has the possibility to take something out or put something in. So this group is working a lot with collective structures, with meetings, with bringing in other artists, other groups. My first question would be, is this invitation changing the local art scene in Jakarta? Are you talking a lot about this invitation? Is Ruang Grupa well known there? And the second question is, this technique of collective production, is this part of your daily artist work as well? And yeah, can you describe this a little bit for us?
I think Ruang Grupa it's back when I was still in high school already, it's already there. I mean, Ruang Grupa is like the center of, if you talk about art in Jakarta, Ruang Grupa is like the center of it. So I think when they announced that Ruang Grupa will be the creator of the Documenta, is like every art enthusiast or art scene here, like, whoa, they all pay respect to them. So I think, yeah, it makes like a big changes here. Yeah, and I think talk about the collective. Yeah, we like doing collective things, I think. I mean, because it's the culture of Indonesian also, like they like to hang out together, like we call it nongkrong. So sometimes we just doing nothing, we just hang out without doing anything, or maybe sometimes we do something, but I think that's a culture of us.
So it seems to me like actually we here in Germany, we can be very happy that with Ruang Grupa, hopefully a little bit of this Indonesian culture is coming to Kassel and to Documenta and to us. I think we could have more about this practice, and it seems to me as well that if you describe it that way, that your culture or this cultural way to hang out is as well having a strong connection to the graffiti culture from New York. And yeah. So we were talking a lot with DARBOTZ. Thank you very much now, and I would like to have a few questions for you, SNYDER, as well. And as well, our time is running now. So I would like to ask you, SNYDER, how would you describe your artist work? How strong is the background in street art or art in the streets? What is the background of your work?
The background of my work, well, I come from graffiti. I have the graffiti background. I definitely make use of the techniques of graffiti in my work. So besides brushes and roller paint, I use spray cans a lot. And graffiti writing is a part of my life for more than 25 years now. Of course, it influences my art, but also vice versa. So if you ask me if what I do is kind of post-graffiti, I would say it's post and anti-graffiti.
Why is it anti-graffiti? I have to ask you.
Ante, before.
Okay.
Because post,
okay.
It's not post-graffiti because I'm still, I'm still into
absolutely
graffiti and
absolutely. With the term post-graffiti, people or you can describe a way how people with a graffiti background are as well developing their work to a further step or to a further level. And it looks to me and this is maybe the reason I would describe you as a post-graffiti artist. It looks to me that your work is, and the effect you are using in your work, this this technical effect of chromatic aberration, which is a shiny surface that you are creating that is reminding me on a fluid or a metal surface. I would like to ask you, how did you reach out to that effect? How did it happen that this effect has become such a center of your work?
During my studies, there was a time when I experimented with different ways of digital editing and the distortion of images. And I later on used those ways and the software I learned during my studies for developing a certain technique that I can control to create different grades of this estrangement effect or disguise on the computer and use it for my art. It became so important in my work because to me it represents a modern or contemporary way of how we look at our world and what this world that we built around us has become through the ongoing digitization.
So it is a comment on like the future we are already in now. Let's maybe describe it like this.
Yes. I use this effect as a way to open up a visual level that stands for our view on the world. That is, the view is engrossed by the artificial influences coming from the screens we watch for hours every day.
Another very strong part of or influence on your work, or what is represented in your work, are these wild animals. How did these animals found their way into your work, and what are you representing with them?
Well, on the one hand, I'm fascinated by wildlife and the fact that every species on Earth has one or even many more abilities that we humans don't have. An eagle's eyesight, or the ability to stay underwater for hours, or the different ways of communication that we don't even understand. So I think we should be very humble and respectful when dealing with other inhabitants of this planet Earth that we have to share. And on the other hand, we put ourselves above all other species and we exploit nature wherever we can. So you could say that these animals represent nature trying to adapt to a world that has been taken over by mankind. But yeah, in the first place, I actually want my art to show that there is much more to nature that we don't know yet, that we did not understand yet, and that there is lots more to learn from it if we just start to change our view upon wildlife.
Yeah, in Berlin, it becomes often very visible, and I remind a case 2 days ago where the wildness came into the city center in form of a beaver who decided to eat trees and build a beaver's dam on the museum island in Berlin, and this beaver was documented and photographed by the Berlin police, which didn't really know what to do with this wild animal, and it didn't really stop to do his job. So in Berlin, for example, we often have the situation where wild animals are occupying the city landscape and use it for their own purpose. So
yes, that's what nature does.
Yeah, absolutely. Even in the heart of the cultural heritage of the city of Berlin.
Exactly.
What would you how would you describe your way or career as an artist? What were the significant and important points?
Well, significant points. I would just say it started really at the beginning. As a child, my parents would describe me as very creative, but still they did not allow me to study art after school. So I studied architecture instead and became an architect working for a Berlin-based architectural practice with international projects. And after several years working there, I chose to continue self-employed when I got my first own projects. And besides that, I was doing graffiti commission jobs on the side for many, many years already. Stuff like decorative interior walls or even multi-story facade paintings. I even had an agency together with a friend, also an architect with a graffiti background, and together we painted these commissioned walls, but everything just for fun on the side while having our real jobs. And when I started to work self-employed, I felt a new freedom that led me to do more and more what I love, which was being creative, and do less of what I don't want, having to deal with Excel charts and cost calculations, for instance. So I actually followed my heart and started with painting my works at spots with good visibility, just to get noticed before I tried to get commissions with the motive that I wanted to paint. No more rainbows and unicorns. So yeah, that was it. And now I enjoy the variety of my work. I love that I can design t-shirts, paint murals, make prints, and have the change back and forth from outside painting to studio work, and not having to work on the computer for 8 hours a day.
But it is very interesting to know that you are an architect yourself, so you know exactly what kind of surface and what kind of building and what kind of architecture you are painting on when you use the city landscape as a scaffold or something like that. What I find pretty interesting in your work is the way you use the city landscape as a surface. And an art historian was writing a critique about at Urbanation Museum. We just show a Martha Cooper retrospective, and for those who do not know Martha Cooper, she's the most famous photographer who documented graffiti, and especially New York graffiti from the 70s. And hers and Henry Chalfant's book Subway Art is the so-called Bible of the graffiti movement, and one of the biggest sellers in this area. And a lot of people were getting into street art or graffiti and were becoming an artist because of this book and the documentation of the works they were able to see. So this critic was describing Martha Cooper and her work, and what is graffiti doing to New York or to a city landscape as a kind of a tattoo to the surface of a city, which means the artist is always working with the substance of the city and with what is happening in the city and with the stories of the city and with the historic situation at site. So you with your work, you add a very specific comment. And knowing now that you're an architect yourself, can you say something about how you choose the places you work, or what is important for you to, if you find a location for your new work in the streets?
Nowadays, you have to say it has to look good for the photograph you're taking at the end. because many of the places that I like are never going to be seen by any other people, because actually my favorite places are the ones that I found by myself by jumping a fence and exploring abandoned buildings. And a couple of years ago, we had many such places, even in the inner city of Berlin. I used to live in Kreuzberg, and there were like several playgrounds, I would say, directly at the Spree waterfront, but they're all gone now. And those abandoned places are getting less in Berlin, of course, but I still find them more on the outskirts of the city, but there are still some. And this is what I like most.
Speaking about the city of Berlin, and maybe that's a question where we open the round again after this question. What would you describe as specific of the, I mean, Berlin is the so-called center of graffiti in Europe. Sometimes it is described as this, and we have a lot of locations for urban art, street art, graffiti in the city. What are your favorite places here in the city for urban art, street art?
Well, you can find street art in every district of Berlin, but of course, most easily in Kreuzberg, Friedrichshain, but also on the abandoned US radar station on the Teufelsberg, where everything is painted, and also in places like the RAW area with the Urban Spree Gallery. And besides the streets, there are even more galleries showing street art, like Kulturspäti, ATM Gallery, or the Urban Nation Museum, of course. So yeah, street art has definitely a long history in Berlin, just like graffiti has. And graffiti, I would say, kind of paved the way for street art. And now it has become a part of Berlin's identity. And it is now being used by many different players, like the tourism industry or Berlin-based companies or corporations that use street art in their advertising. Street art is important for Berlin's image as the cool and cosmopolitan city. And it has its roots in illegality, and it's meant to be subversive. So while it becomes more and more a part of the mainstream, it has to watch out in order to remain rebellious.
That's an important and good point. Maybe we should look again a little bit on your project and what is going to happen in the future, because 2 years ago the exciting mural in Jakarta was painted by the two of you, and there was as well the idea to do something in Berlin. But this project is now shifted to the future. Am I right? Or when will it happen?
Yeah, we continue to collaborate, DARBOTZ and I, on different projects, and yes, one of them is the continuation of the mural exchange. We are planning to fly DARBOTZ in to paint another mural here in Berlin as soon as the pandemic allows us to do so. There's another project we're having in between, because last year we couldn't fly him in. That is the print project. Maybe we can talk about that also a little later. I don't know.
Absolutely, we should look at this. But in the first hand, this project supported by the city of Berlin and Jakarta seems to be a good support for urban art for me. And do you think, as an artist, we need more of these kind of projects?
Yeah, of course. Everybody benefits if we have more exchange projects like this. You get input, you see and learn from different approaches, and you can show how urban art can make a difference. So yes, I would love to see more of this.
This is maybe a question to both of you, as like this artist collaboration project, that this is, in my opinion, very much fulfilling the city partnership idea, because it is putting them in real life practice. I would like to know how this project did change your view as an artist on the city of Jakarta and the city of Berlin.
I can start. For me, it was really surprising to see how easy and fast the organization appeared to be. When it came to painting the mural in Jakarta, I got a list with possible walls and photos from the Jakarta municipality literally the next day after our first email contact. And when I was there on location, I met very open-minded people with great hospitality who really appreciated what I was doing. And at the wall, they provided for food, scaffolding, everything needed. They even built up a tent for relaxing and drove me back to the place where I was staying every day. And yeah, for us Europeans, Jakarta might look like a Moloch with heavy traffic, people everywhere. It's very hot and muggy, but these are the things that you get used to. And what really stays is this friendliness of the people and how easy you make friends when you share the same interests. So now I feel very connected to Jakarta because I have friends there now.
DARBOTZ, you haven't been in Berlin for the second collaboration, but how did this project change your view on Berlin already? Or did it?
I never been to Berlin, but that's one of the city that I want to go. So I cannot say anything, but I know it's already like a nice place to go.
Okay. Because
we're looking forward to have you here.
Yes.
We all do that. Yeah. Because the pandemic situation stopped the easy realization or the realization of the Berlin Partnership mural until now. You did a collaboration on a print called Cohesion, showing Jakarta's Ondel teaming up with the Berlin Bear. And the earning of this print that is supposed to be sold is supposed to support Jakarta's project Gaduh House. I would like to know more about this project and the two figures in the center, means especially the Ondel. Can you tell me something about that, DARBOTZ?
Maybe SNYDER can tell us more about the detail about this project, because he's the one who came up with the ideas actually.
Okay.
Well, the print Cohesion is kind of the result of the connection DARBOTZ and I established. The way we worked on the print by sending draft designs back and forth. It was clear from the beginning that we wanted to develop a perfect combination of our styles, just as we had learned before when we painted the mural together. And for the theme, the print shows the Berlin Bear teaming up with the Ondel from Jakarta. And yeah, the intent of the project is to keep up the exchange during the pandemic and to also help struggling artists in Jakarta by supporting Gaduh House with all the proceeds going to them to help them survive as a meeting point for street art.
I think if we don't have any more questions by the audience, I would like to thank you, SNYDER and DARBOTZ. It was very inspiring and very interesting to hear so much about your artistic work and about the collaboration and the project in Jakarta. And I hope the best for the print cells, and I hope there will be some good benefits for Gardu House in Jakarta. And for sure, I do especially hope that the realization of the Berlin project is happening as soon as possible, probably next year or even this year. And I hope it's possible to meet in Berlin when you are here, DARBOTZ, and to find out more about this great upcoming project. Yeah, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, Jan. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you for having us here.
Thank you both.